Are the Washington Capitals the most chaotic team in the NHL? Because they made the playoffs last year, and leading up to them making the playoffs, we were like, Capitals, don't make the playoffs. You're going to be food. We kept using the term food to describe them. They made the playoffs, and they got just absolutely swallowed up, as was expected. Were they swept by the Rangers in the first round? I want to say they were.
They sure were.
I was very much rooting for them not to be swept. I was very much, in fact, rooting for them to upset the Rangers.
Oh, yes,
and that
right.
didn't happen.
Okay, so they were swept by the Rangers in the first round. They were a streaky, crazy team last year. Their run to the playoffs consisted of them dropping 6 straight and then winning 4 of 5 and just sneaking in. And since then, they have done absolutely wild shit. Their offseason is probably the craziest of any teams. As we said earlier in the offseason, they got all of the, well, where's that guy going to go, guys? Headlined by Pierre-Luc Dubois. They also added Jacob Chychrun, who for sure was on that list. Andrew Mangiapane, I'd say it would be a little disingenuous to say that he was a guy that we were like, who's going to take on that guy? I think that was just, they were more like, a good player's available? Sure, we'll take him. And they also get Logan Thompson to play behind Charlie Lindgren. We definitely don't know what this team is going to be, but I'm very excited about him. I know that both of you guys are too, because it's just a real wacky situation, probably headlined by the PLD acquisition, which was a bit of a head scratcher, but also they've got, I think, a good coach, right? In Carberry. We liked him last year, especially the second half of the season. So this could go anywhere. I mentioned earlier in the Flyers thing that I've got something crazy I'm going to say. I'll say that a little later on, but what do you make of the Washington Capitals?
I am so intrigued. I think they could be quite good. Not like contender good, but we saw what Carberry got out of like his largely AHL group, because he was familiar with a lot of those guys and they were successful. Like the young guys in that lineup were pretty solid. I also think that some of their problems were masked by really good goaltending from Charlie Lindgren at the end of the year. Their special teams was solid, and they were skating by on those things. But like, this is a really intriguing hodgepodge of nonsense going on with this team. I think that there's like they got a decent mix of talent. It's not amazing, but I don't think that they're going to be like uninteresting or awful. So I'm in. Hey, thanks for watching the channel.
We appreciate everybody who checks out our stuff, but 80% of our viewers are not actually subscribed to this page. So if you could smash that subscribe button, it would go a very long way for us.
The more subscriptions we have, the more visibility we get from YouTube, which allows us to do more.
So press that button. Thank you.
I do wish that they had Ryan Leonard. I do wish Ryan Leonard signed and is going to be involved with that team. I would feel a lot better about them.
Ryan Leonard, young stud prospect at center, plays at Boston College.
He's so good.
Going to stay at BC this year, it seems. So I think that they will miss Nick Jensen. I think that's a loss, but I think that getting Chychrun is interesting. Everything they did really is interesting. This is one of 2 teams, the other being the Flyers, that I could believe finishing in any spot in the Metro, including 1st and 8th.
I don't think that they're going to finish 1st in the Metro.
I don't think they are going to finish 1st in the Metro either. But if you were to tell me, hey, what's the craziest thing that happened in the NHL this season? Oh, the Capitals, that wild card team from last season, ended up making the jump to 1st in the Metro. Everything would have to go right for them. And that's the thing with them and the Flyers, where the difference between their everything goes right and everything goes wrong is so freaking enormous. Because if everything goes right, and Pierre-Luc Dubois, who they get in the second year of his 8 times $8.5 million contract, who had 16 goals, 24 assists for just 40 points in 82 games with the Kings last season, has never had 65 points in a season. If he ends up being a real first line center absolute stud. He and Ovechkin are monsters together.
Not going to be.
I don't think he's ever going to be that guy either. But if he ends up being the guy that multiple teams, for some reason, have thought he could be, and I think that, like, the reason they think that is, it's like, look at him. He should be awesome at hockey, and he's good at hockey. But if he ends up being a star, and if Mangiapane is really good, which he's a good to really good player, and Lindgren's awesome again. If everything goes right, if John Carlson is still a stud defenseman, finds fountain of youth, et cetera, Sonny Milano, all these guys, there's so many interesting players on this roster. If everything goes right, then they're a playoff team, and maybe they're better than that. If everything goes wrong and Pierre-Luc Dubois craters and Ovechkin starts to really feel his age and Carlson feels his age and Lindgren comes back to earth and everything like that, like, they could suck. And there are so many guys on that team that are, I don't want to say like enigmas, but kind of hockey enigmas.
Yeah.
What if the vibes are off? Like that is believable with that group. So I can see anything happening with this team.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think it's more likely. Yes. And I think the team defense could be an issue with that team. But, like, you know, given what you've got in the Metro, I think they're somewhere in the middle, like in the middle to like lower end of the middle. But, like, I think that they could be. I think they could be a playoff team again. I really do. Like, I just think that, like, there's so much unknown, but they're an interesting team that is, like you mentioned, kind of can catch fire.
I'll note that with the exception of like one or two, every line or D pairing or position group has a newcomer on. So like let's say their first line is right now. Daily Faceoff has Wilson and Ovechkin flanking Dylan Strome. Other than that, every forward group has a newcomer. Both of the top four pairings has a newcomer. Logan Thompson, a newcomer in tandem with Charlie Lindgren. There's so much change in this team, and none of it is like a Nick Foligno ad, shall we say. It's a lot of it is what's going to happen here kind of ad.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they're very much trying to look for magic, and they're taking some chances. And in the case of PLD, like, they're taking a huge chance, but the alternative is like, what else are you gonna do? Are you just gonna let this team like rot and fall apart?
And I respect that, because the worst thing that this team can be, and this is my one prayer for the Washington Capitals, I hope that their season is not an Ovechkin milestone chaser. That is one of my least favorite things in hockey in recent years, is the focus on Alexander Ovechkin's goal chases and record chases and everything, because none of that is his fault. He's been on not amazing teams, and the only obvious interesting thing for a lot of media and fans to focus on is how close is Ovechkin to this thing. And I can tell you off the top of my head, I think Ovechkin is 41 goals shy of Wayne Gretzky. So if they suck this year, every time they're on national TV, that will be the conversation with the Washington Capitals. And I think that is so fucking boring and uninteresting, because I love Alexander Ovechkin and I've already made up my mind. And I'm pretty confident in what I think Ovechkin is. And I think that we all know that he's the fucking best goal scorer. So I want more out of watching the Capitals than, hey, he's 31 goals away now, or hey, he's 26 goals away now. It's like, well, he's not going to score 26 goals tonight. So can we have something else interesting going on?
And like, for his sake, you don't want for that moment, if he beats Gretzky's goal record, you don't want it to be like a sad sack affair where like he's being dragged across that milestone by a bunch of fucking bums, and he's expected to be I know that he's the captain, but at this point in his career, he shouldn't be expected to be the best player on that team.
There is one player in the NHL right now who every time he hits a milestone, I'm like, fuck yeah. And you know who that is?
It's just Connor McDavid.
It's Connor McDavid. And I did not just because it's Connor McDavid, possibly because like this is the guy that has a chance to be the undisputed GOAT when all is said and done and everything. It's because him hitting a milestone isn't just him hitting a milestone.
It comes
it's
in tandem with a great team
it's
thing.
like this Oilers thing. Do they fucking have something? And I want it to be that with Ovechkin. Sean?
I was going to ask, like, generally speaking, your level of concern with Alex Ovechkin. Like, still being, obviously, he's not going to be a bad NHL player, but, like, had his worst full season of his career, tied for the lowest point total in a full season in his career, and disappeared at the end of the season, pointless in that playoff series. Like, is he
It is worth noting that you're coming off like the worst season of his career. He scored 31 goals.
I know, but I'm saying, like, he's obviously old.
Yeah. There's
going to be, if we're not already in the process of it, a downward slide towards the end of his career. Like, he scored 31, only scored 31 last year. Is it like, are you assuming that it's going to be as good or better?
And I think the fear in your voice, Sean, is you don't want this to be an Emmett Smith breaks the rushing record thing where
2.5 yards at a time.
They're like, here, we're going to commit penalties and hope they don't get called because that's the only way you're going to be able to gain half a yard because you're so old and bad at this.
And them, like, because I think you saw it at points, like them sacrificing playing good hockey just to try and give him an opportunity to score goals.
Yeah, I don't want us, viewers, media, fans, I don't want us going out of our way for this thing, and I don't want him or his team going out of their way for this thing because he's been too great a player, and I don't want his, victory cigar, cherry on top or whatever to smell bad and be expired and moldy and everything like that. Imagine playoff push, or dare I say, like, going for first and like a big game against the Hurricanes late in the season, and it's for first in the division, and based on the wild card teams, you really want to make sure you get first because you don't want to play the third team in the division. It's a big game, and Ovechkin scores the game winner in the third period, and that's his 42nd goal. That is what I want, and then we'll all remember when he scored his 42nd goal. That is just peak vibes. Also, hell of an assist from PLD on the goal. That's all the shit I want.
Yeah, like even if the Caps aren't good, a resurgent Alex Ovechkin year in which like they're in the middle and not bad, and he scores 42 goals this season would be awesome. Would be great. And I will say, like, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility whatsoever.
This is us wrapping our heads around it. We're wrapping our heads around a fun Washington Capitals season. Please don't suck.
Yeah. I think that I'm more willing to say that they're going to be fun than they're going to be bad.
But you think they are going to be bad. But you're also more willing to say, and I'm not trying to take corner you, but you also think they're more likely to be bad than good. Or really bad than really good. You can amend.
So I'm kind of in the same spot with them as I am with the Penguins, where I think they're going to be mid in a shade of either direction.
Can I give you something that might not be interesting at all, but could also potentially be very interesting?
That's what the show's all about. Subscribe on YouTube.
Final game of the season, if they're fighting for maybe a wild card spot, third place, at Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins.
I
want him to break the record in the final game of the season.
What I'm saying, especially if it's a game where it means something. It's like Ovi gets the goal record
right
against
in
Sid
Crosby's face
in Pittsburgh.
That's a scheduler's decision.
Oh yeah, Ovi.
They absolutely did that on purpose.
Although the weekend before that, they play back-to-backs. A back-to-back home or away.
So they play the Penguins like 3 times in the last 2 weeks of the season.
No. What I was going to say is the weekend prior to that, they play at and then home against the Columbus Blue Jackets, which could mean Ovi puts up like back-to-back hat tricks, and then it doesn't matter.
Okay, how about this? Saturday, February 22nd, national game. They play at Pittsburgh. Ovi scores his 42nd goal. The Capitals are now first place in the Metro. Sidney Crosby says, it's late February.
Trade me.
I think I want to go to the Capitals.
Trade me right fucking now.
He scores the goal to seal Sid to Washington. And then we would all be, it would be impossible to be too annoying about that team. Like, everyone will be like, Sid and go over there. It's like, nothing you could say about that will annoy me so fucking in.
Do you think it's
conspiracy theory complete?
Do you think it's more likely that Sidney Crosby gets traded to the Washington Capitals or Alexander Ovechkin gets traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins?
I want to continue this conversation with a straight face because I want to clip this so badly and put it out on which social media platform would react most angrily to it.
Twitter.
Twitter is going to be the angriest about it. No, it's like let's put it on Facebook.
Actually, I think it's probably Instagram because Instagram has less of a feel on who we are as people. And like Twitter would be like, these motherfuckers are just trying to stir shit up. Instagram would just be like, who the fuck are these clowns? You idiots. Blah, blah,
we
blah.
gotta anonymously.
Actually, TikTok might be the maddest.
Okay.
Post this in r/penguins and just be like, look at these guys talking about Sid. Let's see how they react.
Absolutely do that. Pete, ask that question again with a straight face, and I've got an answer.
Dead serious question for you. Is it more likely that Alexander Ovechkin gets traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins or Sidney Crosby gets traded to the Washington Capitals?
I don't know which is more likely, but one's happening this season. Easy.
We all silly like the mayor.